if you put a lot of fishing lines in the water, it's a lot of lines, but you're not getting bites on all of them. But you may be getting a bite on this one and then a bite
Yep.
on that one. But the more you have in there, the better your chances are.
Okay. I need to go back and watch some of those older Lupin.
Older, oh,
They,
old.
it is an older show, but I didn't.
It
They
is.
hopefully they bring back some
We've
remake
done
some
new
of those.
episodes. There's new stuff coming out. We're not
Okay.
dead.
I definitely need to check that stuff out. That's just a whole series that I haven't really got into yet, but I know of it. But I definitely need to check it out.
Well, it's been wonderful here on the Raysean Gadson show. I hope you've had a wonderful time. I certainly have. But was it perfection? No, because I don't believe in perfection, but it's as close as it could possibly be.
Yo, what's good? It's your boy Raysean from the Raysean Gadson Anime Podcast, or RGAP for short. And on today's episode, we're interviewing the mad genius himself, Mayuri, voiced by Terrence Stone, a professional voice actor who is known for Bleach, Naruto, Wolverine, and Blue Dragon. Join us as we dive into the world of voice acting, exploring Terrence's personal journey and achievements, uncovering his anime origin story, and discussing some of our favorite cartoons. We'll also share tips for anyone out there trying to get into voice acting. If that sounds interesting to you, then sit back and enjoy the ride. And don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you.
Where did that Tokamon come from? One of us has to tell Etamon that the Digidestined humans are here. I'll go. I gotta ask him for time off for a haircut anyway.
Keep an eye on those kids or Etamon will make Digi-Stew out of you.
There's just one thing wrong.
Huh?
Just that those 7 kids are already here. They've been at the Pagamon village since yesterday.
I don't have the heart to fight them. It would be too painful. Oh well, I'll just have to find someone with no emotional attachment. I don't recall giving you permission to yap away like that. Not only are they virtually indestructible, but they scream so well. Oh yes, indeed.
Mai is right. Fighting is wrong. Listen to your little sister. Futa, Tsukiko. Ha! Fighting very wrong. Don't make me strike this gong, cause when I hear it bong, I have to sing the song. When I hear a bong or bing a silly song, I sing. It doesn't mean a thing, this silly song I sing. The cat took all its gold. The fox is really old. The queen was polishing the elbows of the king.
Before we get started, I just want to allow my guests the opportunity to introduce themselves, basically tell everybody where you're from, what you do, and also tell us your top 2 favorite movies or cartoons.
I'm Terrence Stone. And right now I'm in Kansas City, Missouri, where I have a home. And then I've been in LA since 86. And so I still have a home in LA. Didn't burn down.
Thank God.
And before that, I was in a little in the Midwest and then back in Ireland. So there you go on that. Favorite movies or cartoons? Well, favorite movies, since I'm a history person. I love history. This can be boring, but favorite movie, instead of a rom-com or a comedy or something like that, it's actually going to be history. It's going to be Braveheart. A lot of people like Braveheart. And other people go, oh, come on, really? Although I got to admit, Gladiator, pretty good.
Oh,
not,
Gladiator.
not historically accurate in a lot of ways, but a good movie.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to be.
Cartoon, I guess I would have to be loyal. It would be an anime, and it would be Bleach. Oh,
Okay.
wait, I'm working on Bleach. Oh, maybe that's why. Yeah.
And you play a great character in Bleach too, so I can understand why.
My main character, Mayuri, or Mayuri, depending on how you want to say. Yeah, just got through recording the 3rd season, not even quite a month ago. Well, maybe a month ago, yeah. And I have season 4 still coming up. It hadn't been done yet, so, yeah.
I think we're almost getting close to the ending of the 1,000-Year Blood War arc.
Yeah, we've got one more season to do, and that'll be it as far as what's the manga and what they've written so far in Japan and everything, and then we'll see what they do.
For sure. I hope they go back and start finishing up some more stuff for you guys to anime, because I was not expecting Bleach to be as good as it's been so far, and you guys have been killing it. From the voice acting, from the animation, from the story, it's been amazing.
Yeah, the animators doing a great job. We did the first and second season pretty close, a couple of months apart, and then they took a long break before we did the third one. And it was to let the animators like catch up and have a little slower downtime and actually recover from. They really were whipping them and working them hard the first two seasons. And so when we came in and we started recording the third season, boy, you could really tell that they just stepped up their game and were right on.
For sure. I mean, from the first to second season, you did see a little bit of a difference in the animation because you can tell they were trying to pump it out as fast as they can. And I think
And
they
the
really
critics noticed that too.
and I think they really took a lot of the feedback they got from the fans and stuff like that and said, we're going to
Yeah.
take a little bit of our time. And it really showed this season. I thought it was beautiful.
And the criticism was correct, and the animators and everything agreed. They were cutting some corners and everything, and so the longer break, we had about 10 months break between season 2 and season 3. Now how many seasons are actually out there showing now, have been released? All 3 now?
It's been 3 seasons. I think all 3 seasons going on to the 4th one.
I didn't know if you guys had seen the one we just finished doing the last few months or not, but yeah, it's out there too. All right.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you've seen season 3, huh?
Yep.
And you saw that I have a couple of episodes that pretty much almost just me.
Yeah, dedicated to you with your fight with
arm. Fighting the arm.
the left hand of the Soul King. Yep. Now it's an interesting but very nice fight. I like the whole storyline behind the fight, which you basically get the now kind of taking over.
Yeah.
It's
Matter of fact, it almost gets me. It just about gets me. And Nemu. Oh.
Man.
It was very well done. At first, when I saw the first pictures and was first recording some of it, I was like, okay. Fighting a hand, and then it became an arm. And it's like, oh my God, what in the world? But the writing pulled it off. And towards the second episode where I'm finally winding it down, man, it was intense. So, okay, there you go.
Yeah, I like to
That's the
say
weirdest thing I've ever fought.
Yeah, from that character, I will say. But I like to say from just Mayuri in the 1,000-Year Blower arc, he has been probably one of the most important characters as such as just helping the Soul Society be able to fight off the Quincy's.
Yeah.
Like he's literally every step of the way taking out some of the most important people in each season. And I'm sitting here like, I'm surprised no one talks about Mayuri as being one of the strongest because he's literally proven it every.
Well, they've used me, except for some of the episodes, more because I was so strong in a lot of the old seasons and years back and everything. They used me a lot for transition. I explained a lot of things, and here's what's going on, because I'm the one always doing the research and always figuring stuff out and doing the experimenting and all this stuff. And so a lot of times that's what they use me for, is to give you an explanation or explain a little more of what's going on at the time, or transition into or out of an episode or something, so, and that's fine. At least they're still having me do it.
For sure. Before we start talking about stuff we've been recently watching and stuff, I gotta ask you, how do you feel about Mayuri's whole speech about perfection?
That's become really kind of the most popular thing that character that I've done with that character. And it was interesting. It was a lot of dialogue and an interesting slant on it. You can see, being a scientific-minded guy, that he would look at it that way first. He's approaching it from the science and from more of a nuts and bolts kind of way of looking at things. So he's not compassionate or passionate about it. He's just matter of fact. And in looking at it and how people deal with it and how it affects people, he's decided, no. There's nothing that's perfect, and pursuing it is a fool's errand and all this sort of thing. When I recorded it, we thought, oh my gosh, this is going to take, because it's so much continuous dialogue. And we thought, well, this will be interesting. We'll have to do several runs at this. And I just went, no, let me read through this. And I read it, and I saw how it was, and I said, okay, let's just go, and let's go as far as we can go. And wherever I missed something or mispronounced something, which of course, with the Japanese and things like that, got to get the pronunciations down right. And so we started, and I made it most of the way through on one take, and then said instead of resetting and punching in there, which is where when you got something to a point, and then you basically they play that and you hear it in your cans, and right where what you've got stops, you come right in. You're like, and that is exactly, and you jump in so it sounds like you were never breaking it up.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, no, let's start at the beginning again and just let me go again. And everything about that is in 2 takes. In the second take, what you see, what you hear, what sync and everything is, that's what I did the second time. And it just flowed. The writing on that was really good. And the translation was really good. And it's been an interesting one. It's the one that I get asked the most about, or is, referred to the most. So yeah, that was an interesting time. That, and then in the movie where they open up and I'm in a prison cell, and you see more of what I actually look like. You get a little bit of the history behind that character, and it was very emotionally traumatized character, and so that was a lot of really good stuff to sink my teeth into. We try the LA bunch. A lot of us that do most of these and the big ones, we've been doing it since 87, 88, when anime was first really coming into a market. And in LA, there were, a small group of us that did like Pokemon, Digimon. We were doing some of the very first ones. And a lot of other voiceover people are like, oh, you're doing those Japanese cartoons. Oh, that's cute. Good for you. But just like computer games that we started doing, remember, I don't know, you don't remember, but in the 80s and early 90s, they had been pretty sticky and stiff, and then all of a sudden they started making them more realistic and started using motion capture and stuff, and you got a chance to finally do some acting, because voice acting is actually a little harder than on camera. On camera, you've got all kinds of other tools. You've got wardrobe, you've got lighting, you've got makeup, you've got blocking, you've got all surroundings, all this kind of stuff. With voice acting, you've got one tool and you have to make it believable. And for anime, you have to, or cartoons, things like that, animated movies, you have to be right on the verge of too animated, not to pun on words, but too strong, too boisterous, or too much, where it becomes cartoony, if you know what I mean. I don't mean that in a negative way, but a connotation of now it's more Bugs Bunny and things like that. And anime, you want it to be as real as you can. And your voice, you either sell it or you don't. And people either believe it or they don't. But that's all you've got, And so a lot of us that have been there from the very beginning and seen the transition and how great it is now, and computer games are insane. It's like basically a movie. And so when we get to work on those things now, the last 10, 15 years or so, you get to actually act. And that's been a lot of fun. That's been really good. It's not stiff. It's not, what?
That's
That
pretty
took a long
cool.
time to say, didn't it?
So you've basically seen the whole evolution of the games. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Me started.
That was amazing. I give you props on that one. Before we switch topics, I just want to say what my 2 favorite cartoons are. I'll have to say my first one is Hey Arnold. I've always been a fan of Hey Arnold. And I've always just liked characters that always seem like a misfit, but always are great people and stuff like that. So I like that.
Yeah.
Next one, another cartoon that has an oddly shaped head character, Jimmy Neutron. I feel like Jimmy Neutron is an amazing
Jimmy
cartoon.
Neutron. Yeah. It's fun to do some of those kind of characters and things that are just kind of out there, that are fun. I did it's actually more of a computer game based off kind of an anime. Beautiful Joe, which was a computer game, and then it became an anime, or it was anime and became a computer game. And you're doing all these crazy characters, and I'm also doing thing called Bianchis, which is all these minions that are like droids that are not real, but for all of them that are there. So I would record, it's like making a chord in music, because most vocal actors, we come from music backgrounds, or we have music ability. And for singers and things like that, because you pitch and pitch, like in movies, a lot of what I used to do, and a bunch of us used to do, is called sound alike, or you mimic a sound. Like if you did a movie and then you had to go on location, you weren't there to record your own voiceover track, and they'd hire somebody like me to come in, and I listen to your voice in the cans, and I pitch up and match your voice, and I mimic you and do the lines for you. So you have to be able to have a musical ear. It's the front of the mouth, the back of the mouth. Is he high, low, whatever? And so a lot of the other stuff is the same thing. You come from how you hear it and what you're doing. And sometimes you'll do characters where there's 4 or 5 of them. So you have to do all of them. So you have to find pitches each time you do a different one because the recording, they're stacking it. Like if you're singing a song and you sing your own background vocals. So they're stacking it, but you got to understand musically how to do that so it sounds cool instead of like, that's just a lot of noise. So just like in characters, when you go in, anime, computer game, doesn't matter what. If you're creating the voice, original animation is what they're calling it. You're creating the voice, not dubbing to something it's already done. They show you a picture. You see a picture and they go, what do you think about this? What does this bring to mind, And so small creature, large creature, whatever, how small is it? Is it up here? Or is it down here? Am I down in this area? So, and then, am I down? So, what are you seeing? And you put a voice around into there, and that's how you create what it is. And sooner or later, the director or the client or somebody on the other side of the screen will go, oh, yeah, that's it. That's excellent. That's exactly what we're looking for. Okay. And then you'll go, wow, they sound weird. They never sound like that. And that's what you go with, So, all right. Got off another tirade. I apologize.
Oh, no, I got it. Yeah, give you props. That's a lot of stuff I didn't know. I didn't think about how music can help you basically with voice acting. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
For my next part, I wanted to ask you basically, what have you been watching, playing, or listening to recently? This could be anime related or not. Because recently I just watched Abbott Elementary. That was a show that a lot of people been pitching to me to watch, and it took me a while to watch it because I was like, I don't know if I want to watch this show about a school and teachers and stuff like that. But the show is hilarious. I literally got through the first 2 seasons like really quick.
That's really all that matters. Is it entertaining? Is it something you like?
For sure.
I mean, there are a lot of people that I know, voice actors, not going to say, that work in anime all the time, but never watch it. Never watch it. They come in and they look at the script and they're part of the show, so they know that show they're in. But other than that, they never watch it. And then there's a lot of us that are like right in the middle of it going, okay. And some of us watch it to see how our performance came out because, we don't hear it until it's released, just like doing a movie.
For sure.
The stars, they know what they did in there, but they did. If you do 10 takes of just even one scene, you have no idea what take they're going to use. You never know how they're going to edit something together. And a lot of times you go in and you see it for the first time along with the audience, what they chose to do. So voice work is the same way. I've been, of course, I've been sneaking peeks at Bleach, but I've been watching Lupin.
Oh, okay.
I did some work for Richard Epcar, who directed it, and he also does one of the main characters in it. And Richard and I used to be in a cover band together in L.A. Oh my gosh! But anyway,
that's amazing.
I did some characters in that, so I was watching the show and kind of seeing what's going on and just seeing what everybody else did too. So that's the latest thing I've been watching.
Okay. I need to go back and watch some of those older Lupin.
Older.
Old. It is an older show, but I didn't. Hopefully they bring back some remake some of those.
There's new stuff coming out. We're not dead.
I definitely need to check that stuff out. That's just a whole series that I haven't really got into yet, but I know of it. But I definitely need to check it out.
Naruto. Boy, I'm really going back. Wow.
Oh, Naruto's amazing. I still keep up with Naruto right now.
Okay, yeah. I haven't done anything on Naruto for a while. Yeah, I haven't done anything on that one for a while. But I still keep up with it, just to watch it. And also, it's another thing, too. Good. Voice artists, we know each other for the most part, especially those who've been around for a while. And so we, starting like right before COVID and all the way through COVID, we couldn't go in and do auditions like we used to. We couldn't do group record sessions like 4 or 5 people, in the same room. We couldn't do that anymore. Used to be fun to go to an audition and you get there early or you stay a little bit late after you've done yours. And there'd be 8, 10 voiceover artists in the holding area, the green room or whatever, waiting and get ready to go on or just finished. And you got a chance to see each other,
And talk.
Boy, ever since that, we don't get to kind of hang out with each other much anymore. But it's nice to watch shows and hear the work that we know. Oh yeah, that's so and so, or that's so and so, or. And so
For
that's
sure.
fun. And also to just keep up with kind of what's going on.
That's one thing I've learned doing these interviews is that a lot of you voice actors are really connected and like to watch each other's work and give each other applause and give their flowers and stuff like that. So I think that's amazing.
Yeah. A lot of times with conventions, you get a chance to work, for a weekend with 4 or 5 others, or at autograph signing things where there's like, maybe 10 or 12 of you or something like that. You get a chance to kind of hang out and stuff like that. But it's not like it. It's not like it used to be, Rachel.
Oh, I
Oh,
apologize.
well, it's still
Now
fun.
jumping into our interview.
Oh,
But my first question I want to ask you is basically, what made you want to become an actor? And were you always interested in doing voice acting?
I fell into acting by accident, doing some plays and things in high school and then in college, just because I was seen and they thought I was just right for a part. And then the other time, if there's a production in your high school or something and you're artistically inclined at all, I was a big athlete, but at the same time, I really enjoyed. I was also a singer. I was a professional singer at 14, so I was already performing in front of people a lot. But to be part of an ensemble or a cast, that actually is one of the best things that you can do too. It's like being on a football team,
Mm-hmm.
but you're doing different kind of things, but you're depending on each other and your cues, and just like a guy running through here and he blocks and there's the hole and all that kind of stuff. You depend on each other, you work with each other, you find out what your strengths and your weaknesses are, just like you do other people. Voice acting, really a lot of what I got paid for over the years that I've been in voice acting, which has been since the early 80s.
Okay.
Yes, I'm old. I used to get in trouble in school, grade school, a lot, not in junior high. But in grade school, I was always getting sent to the principal's office because I would do animal sounds or mimic sounds or do voices or something. And
Oh, that's
so,
nice.
now I get paid to
Do
do
the
what I
same
was
stuff.
before. So the principal's not alive anymore, but I was doing a radio commercial for a. No, I wasn't either. I was singing a jingle.
Oh, okay.
In a studio, and the studio next to us at this big studio, you've got like a studio may have 3 or 4 recording rooms in it, or 2 or 3 or whatever. Well, my director of that spot knew the director doing a spot in the next booth, and during a break, they talked to each other. And when you're in the booth, when you're in the recording booth, because you're separated by usually a glass partition between the control room and the recording booth. And usually you're the only one in there, and then the director and the technician and everything's on the other side. When you're in the booth, the recording booth, you can't hear unless they press the button on the control panel what's going on in the
Oh, that
booth where
side.
they are. But where you are, it's always open. So anything you do, they always hear.
Oh, okay.
That's one thing when I coach and I teach people, I say, all right, when you're recording, be sure you don't say anything that you don't want everybody else there to hear and know, because they're going to hear and know it. But I wasn't aware of that then. And I was just goofing around in between warming up to keep my voice warm before we recorded again. And I do characters. I did voices, all that kind of stuff, to keep a high pitch. I may do a baby, Well, I've got to have that range warmed up to be able to do that. Or if I'm going to do bass or something, then I've got to have that. I was doing all these different character voices and stuff. And the director that was from the other spot heard me and said, "Who's that? What the heck? Have him come talk to me when you guys are through." So I did. He had a commercial in mind, a series of commercials that he wanted to do. And he wanted one person to do all these different voices. And there's a radio thing where it's a DJ. So every commercial spot, you're the DJ. But then there's all these different characters that are calling in. So it has to be somebody who can do all these different voices and all these different sounds and everything. So he hired me to do that. I got in there doing it, and they became very popular. And then I just started I got an agent that believed in voiceover, because remember when it first started, people went, "What? No, voiceover is an announcer, or you're doing a commercial, you're the spokesperson or whatever." What do you mean voiceover? And most people had no idea how voiceover is being used in movies. Like 95% of everything you hear on a movie or a TV show has been reproduced on a soundstage. None of what you're hearing is what anybody was hearing. It's like looping Walla. You have all these people around the main stars and their mouths are moving and moving. But when they're shooting it, none of them are speaking. They're not allowed to. And only the stars are being recorded. And that's just so they can use that as a guide track when they come into the studio later and have to re-record their voices. They're lip syncing, they're dubbing their own voices. And so that's so the control person, they can adjust, the volume levels or whatever. You and I may be doing a scene, maybe my voice is very strong, but your voice isn't as strong. Well, if we come into a studio and they record it in a controlled setting, then they can bring me down or bring you up or balance us more so that our voice sound is equal as far as the person who's watching it, listening to it. So,
wow, I never knew that.
Yeah. It's all the tricks, all the little stuff that makes the magic. But anyway, my agent started sending me out on some spots, and I loved it. It was easy. It's fun. As far as a professional, you show up, you can look like whatever you want to look like. Nobody's going to see it except the technician, and they know not to laugh. Oh, you get to have fun. You get to create. It's totally different than being on camera, of course. But it's just. And if you've got a good project and they let you act, and it's very rewarding. It feels good to bring a character to life. I've got a lot of characters in computer games, and I've done voice stuff in movies and everything too, but a lot of anime, and you get a variation of different characters and types and creatures and stuff, World of Warcraft stuff and Hearthstone. I go from being the main Hearthstone guy, the innkeeper, who's the kind of the face of the game for all these years now, to being some little, fish creature or who knows what. It's always something different, and you challenge yourself to see, what can I come up with? What can I do?
For sure. And that's one thing I think about voice acting that is very inclusive, is the fact that you can literally play anything. I mean, anything, it literally has a mouth or talks. You could be a tree, a chair, or, you know what I mean? So
I was going to say, sometimes they don't have to have a mouth. I've done sounds for a treasure chest that comes to life or whatever. Yeah, World of Warcraft has got, and games like that. Oh my gosh, they've got wild stuff that I've done. It's not always a living creature,
True.
You have to be careful, though. I did a thing early on in the 90s. I forget the name of it, but I went in and I auditioned, and I used a trick voice.
I used a trick voice. Where you have several sounds and it's all you, but you hear more than one pitch.
And of course, a technician usually come in and go, what are they doing? Who put that harmonizer on there? No, this is before we had harmonizers.
And we would just do it ourselves.
And so that's a trick voice. So if I go in, I did it for a character, and they said, you're going to hire you. And I went, oh, good, I've got the part. They said, well, we're going to need 2 or 3 days, and we're going to need like 4-hour sessions. What in the world? One character, that's a lot of stuff. And I found out they wanted me to do the whole family.
Oh.
Family. So I was like, oh, be careful what you wish for or what you try to do. Sometimes it comes back to bite you. So after about 3 days of that, you're not doing anything the 4th day because your voice is blown out. So you have to be careful.
Especially, I could think playing a whole family. But moving on to my next question, I want to ask you basically.
Moving on.
I mainly brought you on is because I wanted to talk about your experience working on Bleach. Basically, I want to ask you, how did you get the role? How did that all come about? And was it a challenge to basically play a character like Mayuri, who comes off as like evil and kind of like cunning type of nature of a character? But, he has a little bit of changes throughout the series. But do you feel any personal connections to him?
Oh, yes, the experimenting on live people. That I relate to that, yes. But I got away with that when I was younger, so, when Bleach first came out, they had auditions. They had sessions where back then you had to actually physically go in to the studio, have your lines or on a paper, and you would go in whenever your time was. That's the old way. Now you do you set your machine up, you do your thing in your own booth, you send it in. You never go into a studio. As a matter of fact, if you get the job, you may record it from your own home studio. But back then it was very different and actually a lot more fun. But went in and we auditioned for it. And when I saw him, I had a thing. I was in a thing called the Batman Stunt Show like a year before that. And Warner Brothers put it out after the first Batman movie. And they wanted to create a live stunt show with all that around and use the Batmobile, the actual one from the movie and all this stuff. And I landed the role of the Joker / MC. So the whole show, I'm doing costume changes, stuff like that. And the audience doesn't know until the very end that it's the same person. Well, what I was doing in the rehearsals as we were getting the show up on its feet and basically creating it, I used a voice for the Joker it's just something I did. And one of the Warner Brothers people came out to kind of check on the progress of the show because we were doing it in Texas, in Dallas, Texas, at a Six Flags park there that was the biggest one. And it's where they built the first stage. So he come out, what's the progress stuff? And he heard me doing the Joker's voice. And so they hired me to come in and record all the lines as the Joker. And then they used that as a track that they sent out to all the other parks and everything. And people, they decided that they'd wear a mask if you're the Joker. So it didn't matter about lip sync. Well, I used that voice, and when they showed me Mayuri, if you look at him, he's like purple, white. He's got the white makeup and stuff. And I just went, well, I think what I'm going to do is kind of the same thing that I did for that. And so I thought, though, what I'll have him do, if he's highly intelligent, I'll use what they call an Atlantic accent on him. It's not British. It's not straight American. So that makes him different, makes him seem much more intelligent, but it'll allow me to fully enunciate my words so that it sounds like, oh, he's highly educated. Oh, wow. And I thought I'll use what they call a mid-Atlantic. It's like when the Brits first came over and were colonizing and all this stuff. And so a lot of your Americans had it wasn't quite an English accent, but it had flavors of it. So you still had flourishes on your words now and then, but it wasn't English, wasn't like that. It was more eloquent. And so when I had him say something, it was just like, I think this is exactly what we should do. So it's not British, but it's definitely not most rural areas or regular areas in the U.S. And then I thought,
What else will I do? Now and then I will have a bit of harmonization. Well,
hang on. Usually I would do this in the studio. Or Stone. I would be like,
I don't think this is what we're doing. If you want me to, then I can. But if not, then I will not.
And so I would bring it in and bring it out, bring it in, bring it out. So it was just different. But also it's a little bit of a trick voice. So I knew that immediately would make me stand out different than a lot of the people that were going to come in and do it. And they send them in and they look at they listen to your audition. They go, oh, and maybe they have you come back or whatever. But I was lucky. They liked exactly what I did and sent it back and said, we want to hire him to do Mayuri. And I've done through the years, other little smaller characters and stuff. But for that, but their note was, but why did you decide to put the harmonizing on his voice? That's what I was talking about a while ago. Mm-hmm. And the technician and director came back and said, no, that he's doing that. He does that himself. And they went, oh, we'll take it. So, okay. So that worked out to be something that made the difference for me to get the part. And then as it went along, what you do when you're dubbing, in your headphones, of course, usually on the left side, you'll hear whatever it is that you're now going to replace or mimic. Mm-hmm. And so you have the Japanese actor who was great. I've always loved what he does because he's very good. The Japanese actor that originally did Mayuri, or still does, I guess. He's not dead. But you have that for sometimes emotional intent, because for a lot of times you would have some of the script, but only what you were in. Now you only see your own lines. You don't see the full script and all the dialogue. You don't see that. You have a page with line by line by line by line, and a cue number and all this stuff, and they pull up the scene, and a lot of times you look at it, a little bit just to get the idea of how the scene flows, but sometimes you don't get to do that, or they don't have it ahead of time. And so you hear and you do your interpretation of it or your version of it, but it needs to have the same intent. And so I don't know. It's just like when I did the perfection speech. That was the same thing. I saw all that I was going to say, but I hadn't seen it until I watched it through. And no, it didn't show me, or I didn't hear what anybody said before me or after me. Sometimes if you've got a really hard part on like a movie or a really difficult part in a computer game or whatever, they and the other artists that you're talking to, playing the other characters, if they've recorded their part, then sometimes you can ask and they will play that voice into your head, and you'll
Okay.
hear what they've said that sets you up for what you're going to say, which helps you a lot of times there understand how you should respond. And now, over the last 10 or so years, some of us started this, and I think most studios do it now. You give a series of 3 is what it's called. Let's say, give me some kind of a short sentence. Something short. Doesn't
Hey,
have to
welcome to the Raysean Gadson Anime Podcast.
No, it's got to be shorter than that.
Well,
Something you might say, like, or like you call somebody up, and what do you say? You're
hey,
saying
how you
hello.
doing?
Okay, so hey there, how you doing? Let's say that. So when you're recording, you hear beeps in your headphones,
Mhm.
and it'll be beep, beep, beep. And on the 4th beat, it's silent because that's when you start recording. So you hear
Okay.
beep, beep, beep. Hey there, how you doing? Okay, so that would be one. But if that's not if that doesn't work right, then you have to reset, go again. Well, now we do a thing where you give a series of 3. So, hey there, how you doing? So beep, beep, beep. Hey there, how you doing? Hey there, how you doing? Hey there, how you doing? So all 3 are the same words, but 3 totally different takes. And in
Mhm.
that series of 3, usually, if you know the character, and usually we do, if not, they've given us some bit of reference. But what you're looking for, what the director's looking for that works, will be in one of those 3. If not, you go again and give another series of 3, but make sure those 3 are different than the other 3,
Okay.
And if it's a series of 3 and supposed to be different, make them different. Don't go, hey there, how you doing? Hey there, how you doing? Hey there, how you doing? There's not much difference in those, So the director's going, thank you for the basic one take there. It's
Well, I guess we're gonna have to go with 1,
Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
My last part of that question is, what are your thoughts basically on the news series of Bleach, the Thousand Year Blood War arc? I feel like you kind of stated it a little bit earlier, but what's your thoughts?
Well, it's interesting the way they're going now. We had the Quincy's were always such a problem for us, always before. It was like, oh my God, the Quincy's. But now Quincy's are being done away with. Now it's like, oh, wait a minute. And so that was a smart move to give us a new villain and change things for the audience, but also for us as voice actors. And except sometimes when you're fighting a giant arm.
For sure,
It's bizarre. It's kind of outside the box, but it's been fun, and it's allowed some really strong voice actors that we hadn't used before, or that their characters have died, and now they can come back and do a variation or a different voice, and so they're back in the series again. And Richard Epcar, who's a long-standing personal friend of mine, and like I say, we used to, for years, we had a cover band there in LA, and we played all over the place, the Whiskey, the House of Blues, the Troubadour, all that kind of stuff. So some of the voice artists, we know each other very well, and he got to play a very good villain. Well, matter of fact, I'm not sure what you've seen yet. Anyway, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But he's been a big pain in the butt, horrible character that's been in there this season. And that's been a nice arc to see. I was concerned at first, like you said, that mostly I was just doing transition stuff and explaining this and that. And then every now and then I get in there. But if you think about it, because of all the new characters that are in there,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of room for those of us who've been around since the very beginning to have a lot of meat very often. You've got to make room for other actors and other characters to have their moments to shine, have their moments to develop storylines and everything. So, it's one of those things. Sometimes you're the main character and you're in there a lot, and then other times you're supporting, and you do a good job of supporting so that other people can shine. And that's what it's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be a team effort.
For sure. There's one scene Mayuri does, and it's probably an underrated scene for most people. They probably don't think about it, but it's a scene where he's getting kind of yelled at by Yamamoto because he basically went out there and killed all the souls before being told to do that. And he basically tells him like, no, don't blame what's happening on me. This is your fault. I tried to tell you people that these people were an enemy a long time ago, and no one listened. And I thought that was amazing, just to see him stand up for himself to somebody that's considered the strongest person in the whole universe.
Yeah.
So that was good.
Sometimes they give you some good stuff in there. Sometimes you get funny things too. That's one thing I always like about Mayuri.
Hmm.
Even though I'm pretty cerebral all the time and I'm thinking the angles, I won't hesitate to throw a little dig in there or do something, that's kind of snarky or just plain funny, and I try to find a way of delivering him. When I do him, I try to do him not musically, but he's got kind of a sing-songy way of saying things a lot of times. Sometimes I may just say it very differently, and yet other times perhaps not. He needs to kind of flow because everybody else is just, I want him to be kind of smooth, flow like water. And then sometimes you get to this last few episodes, this last season, there are several times that I actually got to get pissed off at people. And that's fun to do, to actually blow, because then you got to take a step or two back from the microphone and just blow it out. Yeah. The writers have been good on it as far as dialogue and everything. And of course, in the US, our translators to translate it into English, oh my gosh, they're great. Unfortunately for Mayuri, a lot of times, since I'm giving so much information, oh my God, I've got time from here to say it all time wise. And it's like, there's no way that I can say all that in that period of time. So they let me go in and I don't need "and" here. I don't need, this is redundant. I've said this here. I'm saying it there again. So let's get rid of the one that really is not important. And you finally fix it. But then still, man, I'm like going a million miles an hour to get everything in and not sound like I'm just about to run out of breath. But sometimes I have to go, all right, now I'm going to take it to here. We're going to cut and I'm going to punch in. And that way I don't have to take a breath there because this is killing me. I mean, no, that didn't happen. I shared too much information. No, it's all smooth magic. That's it. Yeah.
I have to agree. Mayuri do give a lot of deposition, so trying to give all that information at once is probably a whole lot because he tells us what the Quincy's are. He tells us the whole history of the Quincy's and stuff
Don't
like
you
that.
remember? Didn't you know?
And you just be like, wow. And what makes him also interesting character is that he has this whole rivalry with Kisuke, and you're trying to figure out who's the smartest and stuff like that. But I do agree with him saying that he's on top right now since he basically created a whole life right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's we haven't seen that from Kisuke.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with what he does with Nemu. And of course, he's regenerating now. Spoiler alert, if you didn't know. And so is Nemu from the fight. Well, I guess so's Kisuke. You had him put in the pod too there. Saved his butt. I mean, yeah, there you go.
No, you mean Kenpachi. He picked Kenpachi in the...
Oh, Kenpachi, I'm sorry. Yeah, duh. If you let her share in there, it's a totally different creature.
Different whole day. I feel you.
And the different accent, it might be totally different person. Sorry. But it's going to be interesting to see what the translation is for a lot of the stuff for next season, because it gets down and dirty and a lot of stuff going on.
For sure, I think
the translators are good. They give us really good stuff to chew on. They just sometimes think that Mayuri can chew more than he can.
I have to say, I think the next arc, he still has another good fight coming up. So I feel like he's still going to have another good moment coming up. So, and to me, that's pretty good because it seemed like every season he's had a little bit of something to do each season. So
always a few episodes, like we do usually 14 episodes in what we call a season. And usually I've got at least 2 or 3 good ones in there. Some of them really good. And then good chunks here and there. And then I'm in enough. And then a lot of times I'm doing like little side characters that are only, a few lines and then they're dead or whatever, I want to do Soldier B, give me Politician A, all this kind of stuff. Give me the Screeching Man or whatever. And or just now we're going to do background. There's a crowd of people. So each one of us that comes in is going to record some kind of background stuff. And then at the end of a week, they've got, 5 or 6, 8, 10 people or 12 people or whatever that have done stuff, and they mix it together and Oh, it's like there was a crowd of people in the studio. No, just one. Anyway.
For my next question, I want to ask you is,
Yes, Raysean.
do you think there's any misconceptions about voice acting?
Misconceptions from the industry or people that like the fans or just people outside of the business or what?
Outside of the business and fans.
Oh, yeah. But most people, unless you've had a touch of being involved in the industry, you have no idea what voice acting actually entails. Like I say, even to this day, a lot of people, they think, all right, voice acting is announcer, somebody who does the commercial thing, or somebody who does a lot of silly voices, and anime and cartoon things. Okay, what's that? But they don't realize movies, TV shows, or even animated movies, or even like Bleach or whatever. There's so much more that goes on to create the thing. Just like a lot of people go, oh, acting, it's easy. You're just standing there talking. Are you really? You're ignoring how many people around you, and a reflector panel over here so the light hits you right, and a microphone that's just right out of the camera, and here, blah, 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 blah. Really? You're just sitting there talking to someone. Voice acting, though, people think it's really easy. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, oh, I've got a cousin. He's got a great voice. He'd be perfect for voice acting. Would he? Or would he be perfect for announcing? If somebody's got a great voice, that doesn't always work out good for a lot of voice acting, because then that means every time you speak, people recognize your voice. So you can only do so many things, or you focus on just doing one thing a lot, or a couple of small things or a smaller number of characters. A good voice actor, especially for film and things like that, you've got to have a lot of variety. You've got to be able to, maybe I want to sound like this. Yes, that's what I'm doing now. Or maybe I want to sound like this and be higher. Oh, my. Or maybe, maybe I want to be a laughing kid, or maybe I want to be whatever. Maybe I want to be a snake or whatever. Or I am a warrior. You've got to have a lot of range. You've got to be able, if I do this character here and I do this character here, I don't want the audience to immediately go, oh, it's so-and-so. Oh, yeah, it's so-and-so. Yeah. Every time I hear that voice, it makes me think of the other character. You've got to be totally different. Sometimes it can be funny. There was an anime I did early on called Magic Knight's Rare Earth, and I was the lead good guy. There were 3 ladies that were the leads, and then I was the main male hero. But also, because I did different voices and you can change your voice, I was one of the main 2 bad guys. And in one of the episodes, my bad guy captures my good guy and tortures him through most of the episode.
So you're going back and forth.
I'm doing myself back and forth, and So you got to be careful sometimes. But because I had the ability, and like a lot of us do, to change my voice so much, you didn't know it was the same person, And so you have to really be able to disguise or change or whatever. A lot of people don't realize any of that stuff's going on,
For sure. I think a lot of them forget that acting is the most important thing. Like, you got to definitely know how to act.
Yeah. When when computer games first started, and anime, when they first started sending us stuff, with dubbing, you're listening to what's being said, and you're making sure that you put your voice in the little flaps. Well, a lot of times, since that technology was so new like that, you spent most of your time trying to be sure you got the flaps. Did I get to get every flap? And so your performance becomes a little stilted because you're worried about technique instead of the quality of what you're bringing forth, your performance. As it got better, and once we finally got what they call beeps, which we didn't have those, some of us, when we used to drive home in a covered wagon, we didn't have a lot of that technology, Hammer on my chariot. But once that started happening, you got to be able, and you got good at it. Then you could do a thing where you could concentrate more on, now let me act more and act more. Well, once we started acting, especially in computer games, they weren't doing it in-house anymore. They weren't going, oh yeah, we got Raysean down here. He's great at this. He can come in and do a voice. And they'll have Peggy over there, and we'll have Jim over there. Yeah, we can do it. We just do it in-house. And then the voice acting would be kind of, except for Raysean, he was always great. He should have, his other work should have been voiceover actor. But the others, you go, oh my gosh, that sounds so stilted. It sounds dumb. And you have the fans actually go, The voice acting sucks. This is horrible. And so then they started realizing, yeah, if you're going to do voice acting, then you've got to be able to act. And we had about 8-10 years there where it was voice actors.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden we had things like Call of Duty showing up and some of these better games, and the game graphics got better. And all of a sudden the celebrity here is asked, would you do our main villain?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they started realizing I can go in and do a whole game in 1 day, maybe 2 days, maybe 3, make a lot of money because my agent did a good contract for me. And I'm out of there, and I can do it. I come in from my house, I record in the studio, I go home same day. I don't have to go on location. I don't have to do anything like that. And once that happened, then the word got out to the celebs. Oh, this stuff's great. You make a lot of money and it's easy, blah, blah, blah. And so that started pushing a lot of us that had done leads down. Now we're doing supporting and then down. And then when we started doing motion capture and stuff, that started making it even harder. And you had to, for a long time, you didn't have places that would teach you motion capture stuff. You kind of learned it on the job or a few people. And now it's, if you can't do motion capture, then that kind of knocks you out of being considered for a lot of really good roles, because that's everywhere now. It's so weird to be wearing a headset and you've got a camera right here in front of you, but you can see on either side. So you can see what you're looking at, but it's right there looking at you, and you have to, it's like doing a film or something. On camera film, you have to start ignoring things. Equipment,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be careful not all the ball. When we were first doing it, you had the little balls that were on there. Now it's built into the suit, or the incredible things they can do. So it's changed a huge amount, but it's getting ready to change a lot more. And that's why the strike is still going on out in LA for
because they try to bring in AI.
Yeah, AI is. It's like anything else. You come up with something that's wonderful, that's good, but then there's always either that person who's looking to change it or take advantage of it, or what can I do to mess this up, or how can I use this a different way that it was intended? And our industry is so far behind because the technology is going so fast. They come up with a great contract for us now. It's like in the 90s and 2000s. We pushed SAG for so long. Give us a good contract because all these VHS things are going out there. Well, by the time they gave us a good contract for VHS, they weren't doing
DVDs.
Well, they were doing DVD. By the time they finally gave us something good for DVD, they were moving on to digital, and they moved on, and it's like, great, thank you, not helping. And that's the way it is now. And AI, though, is already knocking a lot of us out of jobs. Now they don't have to have one of us sound like somebody or impersonate somebody or mimic somebody. They just give the file to the AI. The AI learns it, and they can come in there and they can match the sync. They can match the sound, and got to admit, they can do it better than we can, and for a lot less money a lot of times. So,
for sure. And depending on the character, it's hard to tell. But if it's a character that has like a lot of emotion, I feel like that's when you can tell the difference between the AI and the regular voice. But see, I'm in the opinion,
it's not going to be long. It's not going to be long before they've got that down too.
For sure, how fast technology is advancing and improving. Because one thing I always say, my generation, we've clearly seen how cell phones just evolved as quickly as it did. I mean, there was literally the bricks to like the touch screens to now the iPhones to literally every year there's a new version of the iPhone, and just how fast that was. Just to think about in voice acting, I can see how the technology of that is moving. And then,
even for the voiceover or actors, you've got a phone, you put on a tripod, and the speakers or the recording is so good, or the camera is so good. You do your voiceover, or your, you put a few pads around you for the sound to muffle for voiceover, and there it is. You don't have to go into a studio. You don't have to build a studio. On camera, they're just as good as sitting up, going to a video recording place to do your audition. Phones are incredible,
man. It's crazy out here, and you could say it's helping, but also kind of making everybody more lazy too in that sense.
Well, that's true too. Yeah. As long as you can keep up with the technology.
True.
Sometimes voiceover has never been easier to get auditions for, but it's more closed now as closed or more than it's ever been.
It's probably so much more competition.
Yeah, because now just because everybody can do it, if you don't get what you can do with all this technology in front of the people people that can hire you and pay you money, that's still not helping you. You're one of hundreds, one of thousands,
Mm-hmm.
and on camera, voice work, it doesn't matter. And so it's good that there's more people that can avail themselves. But then again, if you can't afford the technology as it keeps evolving,
True.
I mean, when I first started doing computer games, they used to give us a free game at the end of the thing. And then all of a sudden, you started having PS and Xbox and stuff like that. So then they started for a while going, "Oh, what system do you have?" And then after a while, they just started giving it to us. It's like, "I don't have this system." Well, you can take it to a place and sell it. That's not what this would be about. But even so, you would have to almost every 2 years buy whole new equipment and upgrade and this, that, and the other. And if you don't want to do it and put that much money into it, or you can't afford to, then the technology starts to leave you behind.
For sure. Then you
So,
become outdated, and that makes it really hard.
and that's why a lot of younger people, 30 and under now, are the ones that are doing a lot of the stuff because they understand the technology, like you said,
Mhm.
and you're keeping up with it because it's part of your life. And older people, if we don't keep up with it, then we become obsolete with it because now just because we can record great doesn't mean we can get our stuff in to be seen by the people that are doing the hiring. And that's always the bottom line.
For sure. Which I will say, I've been surprised on how the older generation have been keeping up with technology, because my boss at my job, he's like in his 70s and 80s. He basically controls a whole recording studio at his house and have people come in and record for albums and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when he told me that, I was like, wow, I'm surprised I can't even do that. So like for you to be able to do that, that really surprised me.
Well, that's the thing too. When all this first started, the studios weren't equipped really to do it. And so a lot of this stuff started in people's home studios or their garage studios or whatever.
Mhm.
And they had to take the stuff to put the technology in where they could use it. They had to understand what it was, and so now we're kind of getting back to that. We've gone personal studios, and now we're back to it can be done anybody's closet,
For sure. For sure.
anything. So yeah, it's funny how it's come full circle, and there's more places that you can post things. But a lot of times now, the contracts aren't available like they used to be for us. They're not wanting to pay. You're not protected for like replaying or whatever, for residuals or whatever. I mean, we fought for a long time to get anime and computer games to be union.
Mhm.
For a long time, it was non-union. There's hundreds of things that I've worked on, and myself and all voiceover people, that we had to get special designation so that SAG would allow us to work on it. And then there were a lot of people that used different names to work on something because first you didn't want to be affiliated with non-union stuff. We don't do that. Are you kidding me? But that was the only way that was being done. And so they couldn't get good people because non-union people, had no experience doing it. And so when we finally are able to get most of them now to be union, that was a huge step. But now we're trying to get them to pay us residuals and stuff. And that hasn't happened yet. That's part of what the strike has been about too.
And like they're always trying to pitch penny, especially in the anime world, which is crazy
Sometimes
because
they
we
make-
know
Yeah, go
we
ahead.
know they're making money. Like,
Oh
that's
my When I go up on a computer, like, all right, World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, I don't care, any of the big ones. Anyway, before I walk in, Hearthstone, before I walk in to record anything, they've already pre-sold hundreds of millions around the world of
Mhm.
pre-sales because you do your little monthly thing or whatever. When that first started, I thought, wow, okay, this is interesting. And now if you don't do that, you have no access. You can't do it. I remember when things went from single player to multiplayer, and you play online, like
Yep.
Fortnite and all this stuff. Oh my God, they're just raking it in, and we get paid. We get paid well to walk in front of a microphone and record, but that session or sessions, that's all we get paid. We get no residuals. We get no anything else. No matter what they do with it, we have no other right to it.
Yeah.
So,
And then y'all make like an hourly rate, and then y'all might not even be there for a whole hour to do
Yeah.
that. So that's the
Yeah.
thing a lot of people need to understand.
yeah.
But winding down to my last two questions, I want to ask you, do you have any advice for anybody that wants to get into voice acting? I know asking the same question to a lot of people, I know that everybody has their own route and no route is the same. But based on what you've learned, what do you think is something people can do that can help them get into voice acting?
Well, first of all, even if it's just something you made in your own home, or you went to some of these studios that have the ability to record and have good quality, so you don't have to spend a ton of money on equipment yourself. Get a demo of some sort. Give yourself 8, 10 characters. Make them different characters. Doesn't matter if you created and made them up yourself. Something that shows a wide variety of what your voice can do. If you can do a lot of things. If you can't, then give at least 4 or 5 different things that are your strengths, because you always want to play the best hand, and like in cards. You always want to have the best thing to put forward. You can write your own stuff. Don't make it too long, whatever. Do that, have a demo. And then, depending on where you live, check out, go online and seek out if there are any voiceover workshops, classes where they're teaching for a minimum amount of time, like at least 4 weeks, maybe 6 weeks. In California, especially LA, New York, Dallas, Chicago, a lot of these bigger cities, there's always some around to find. But even smaller cities, there seems to be some of them. Or you can do it online.
Yep.
A lot of them are online now, which means doesn't matter where they are. But you want to do a workshop where they're exposing you to a lot of different things, but at the same time, somewhere within that workshop, they have actual casting directors that come online to hear you do stuff, or actual voiceover people, that we come online and we answer you and we listen to your stuff and we give you feedback and things like that. Because you want to be able, the whole thing is get in front of somebody that can hire you.
Yes.
Get in front of people that can pay money, or they've got money for this project and we hire you to come. We trust you with this money. Okay, you're hired. Just little workshops or things like that where they're going to teach you stuff, and then there's no exposure to anybody in the industry that's actually working in the industry now. If you've never had anything, then take one from somebody that's been in the industry, at least, so you get a good exposure to what it is. But if you get a chance to do it, and like maybe their final class, they're bringing in 2 or 3 casting directors that listen to what you're doing, and you basically do your last class in front of them. They could turn around and hire you for something the next day, because I've actually had that happen. And that way, they can help you get an agent, or they can help you get a manager or something. There are a lot of things online, casting places, especially in LA and New York area, where non-union things are being cast. You get a whole list of things. You go, oh, that. Start applying, sending your stuff in on those, and start auditioning. It's like anything else. You keep throwing something until it sticks. I don't know. If you put a lot of fishing lines in the water, it's a lot of lines, but you're not getting bites on all of them. But you may be getting a bite on this one and then a bite on that one. But the more you have in there, the better your chances are. It's okay. Don't give up. There's so many more no's before you ever get that yes. But every no is getting you one no closer to when it's a yes. Plan your work and work your plan. You got to understand how the business works so you can work the best within the business. Just because you're talented, so what? There are tons of talented people all over the place, It's got to be something that, here's what I do the best. This is my strong suit. Where does my strong suit fit the best? Because remember, what are you selling? You're selling yourself. If you're on camera, you're selling yourself. If it's your voice, you're selling what you can do, okay? The different characters, the strong suits. There's got to be something that is the strongest thing you do, that if you went into an audition or you got a part and you walked in front of a microphone, you have the most confidence in yourself of being able to deliver, because you're going to have enough nerves and everything else anyway. Don't put yourself at a disadvantage by also having it be something that you're kind of scared of or you barely can do. I can do a great Scottish, Irish, English accent. But in LA, if they were going to send me in for an audition, back when I used to do a lot of auditions, and you can tell they're going to actually bring in a lot of real Brits or real Scots or real Irish, just because I can do it. Now I'm going to be against somebody that's their first language.
Yeah.
That's their strong suit. So boy, I've got to really up my game, or I've got to realize, I can do it, but I don't do it well enough. I need to pass on that, because why set yourself up to be at a disadvantage? Learn what your strong suit is. What are the things you do that you do really well, and push towards trying to get work in that. Because the minute you first get hired, nobody for casting and stuff like that, and producers, nobody wants to be the first person to take a chance on giving you money to do a part that you might flop on, that you might crack on, or you may not be able to deliver. So they want to use people that have shown that they can do it. Well, by doing a lot of these smaller things, you get one or two, then you've got a resume that shows, oh, somebody else has already trusted me to do this part. And now I know as a casting person, okay, they have experience doing it. The other thing too is learn how the business works. Learn what to do when you come into an audition, or if you're on camera, or even if you're doing your voice setup, your intro or whatever. Learn how to do things the right way, what they're accepting now, what they want to hear. And then that gets you, if you step, even if you've never had experience, if you sound like you have, then they're going to go, oh, okay, let me listen. Yeah.
So
Okay.
fake it till you make it type of thing.
Yeah, because a lot of times when we get inundated, because I've done tons of directing and series and stuff like that. The last thing I did any directing on was What If, but first season before COVID shut us down in the middle of it. Anyway, but I've done lots of directing and casting. And so we're going to get 100 for this one role. What is it? What are we looking for that makes you go into this category and now everybody else is in this category or whatever? Are you with an agent? All right, everybody goes over here. Not an agent. Okay, they go over there. We'll listen to those last, but we'll listen to them. You've got to find things, what makes me stand out. Like when I went in for the audition for Mayuri, I could have just done him like this, and he could have had this sort of voice, and it could have been very fine.
But by putting something else in, now and then it comes in, and then it goes out.
Well, that makes me different. That's that little twist that makes me stand out from the other guy over here, that 5 of us may have done out of 1,000, 5 of us may have done the same thing. But why is mine different? Because I had the little harmonization thing, or I did something. You give yourself a little something to make it stick out. Anyway, we don't have the time for me to do a 6-hour class and make it.
That's some great advice right there. I feel like a lot of people give answers to this, but sometimes they give fast advice. But I feel like you gave a really detailed answer, and I feel like a lot of people could take that and actually do something with that.
Yeah, I hope so, because the other thing is keep throwing it out there. Keep throwing it out there. There's so many of us out there that we were just about to give up on something, whether it's on screen or whatever it is, and then bang, we hung in there just long enough that the thing finally hits.
Yep.
If you quit before and you give up, then it's never going to be able to hit. Anyway.
So my last question I want to ask you is, do you have any ambitions or goals that you have yet to fulfill in the field of voice acting that you're still wanting to do?
Well, if I'm honest with you, no.
Okay.
No, for all the years that I've done it, which have been all the decades now that I've done it, I've been the lead in something. I've been part of ensembles. I've been good guys, bad guys, creatures. I've done all kinds of voices. I've done motion capture. I've done movies. I've done TV shows, voices, not just on camera stuff, but I mean voices for different things on those. I've done tons of anime. A lot of times you won't find me in something that I was in because I did it under the understanding of a no credit, no quote. Which means part of my agreeing to do it for you is if it's a no quote, which means what's my day rate? I agreed for you, especially if you're a smaller company or whatever, or project, and you don't have a big budget. Okay, maybe I step down, I do it for you for, a third or 25% of what I might do, so I can help you and still be part of your project. So I don't want that quote where it can be pulled up and they go, oh, look, he worked on this thing just 3 months ago where he worked for this amount. Oh, well then now, okay, so he's willing to do that. So we can drop his day rate down. Now, once you build it up, you keep it up. And anything you might do as a favor, or you just want to work on the project, or they don't have the money or whatever, you do it as a no quote. That way, never find out what you were paid. But also, if you want to work on something that your manager or your agent might go, I'm not working on that. I'm not going to make any money on that. And you're not going to make any money. Doesn't matter. We can go in and do it as a no credit.
Okay.
And that way, no one ever knows you worked on it. Okay. Sometimes I've worked on, when it was first starting out, you work for a computer game over here and you've got a big part. And then you get hired or asked to do another big computer game that maybe they're competing or the studios compete against each other.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't want this one's where you're getting paid over here. You're working for this one. You don't want this one to know about this one. So you say, no quote, no credit,
I feel it.
And it's like, no, I was never there. What are you talking about? It wasn't me. Somebody doing a sound alike. I can't believe it.
Like they sound just
Oh,
like you. Well,
the politics, because really you got to understand voiceover, on camera, anything. It's a business and you have to understand the business and how it works. And unfortunately, just like so many things, there is a lot of politics involved. And I don't mean Democrat, Republican, that kind of politics. I'm talking about the politics of you've got a line and it's all these people here, the actors and talent that come up to the line. What's the line? You cross the line. Now you're a casting director. Now you're a producer. Now
Mhm.
you're a director. Now you're a manager. You're a whatever. They're all on this side of the line. All the talent's on this side of the line. And there comes a point where you want to be part of here. Well, for a lot of times, the politics are designed sort of to keep as many people from getting over this line as possible, so that being in there is more of a special thing and it's limited and it's controlled. Okay.
Mhm.
So, don't expect just because you're the most talented person that you're going to necessarily get the job. You may sound just like somebody that the casting person, you may sound like their boyfriend they just broke up with that morning. They go, that makes me think of so and so. I don't like that voice. Petty, ridiculous, and yet
Happens.
it happens. So if you don't understand that I went in and did the best I could do, and how did I not get the job? Well, you didn't get the job for things that you had no control over. Okay. When you go in and you do the best job you can do, when you walk out, you leave your bags there at the door. Don't carry it off with you. You can only control what you do. So go in, treat it like it's my party. All these other people that are listening to my stuff or seeing my stuff or whatever, they just happen to be there. But it's my party, okay? I'm not going to be intimidated. I'm not blah, 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 blah. You go in and do the best you can do, and then you walk away. Because 8, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be no. But that one time that it's a yes can then start leading to other yeses. And oh my gosh, those of us who have been working at it for decades, we still, we get no's. Now, I haven't had to audition for a long time because they go on my body of work. But I had to go through tons of no's to get those yeses that have led it up to where now I have an edge or whatever if I go in for something or whatever. Just know that it's persevere, believe in yourself,
So basically, just keep going out there and trying.
Yeah.
Because we
Yeah.
basically hear that advice from everybody. Basically, you go out there and do those auditions. It's best to just forget them and just go to the next
Yeah.
one. So I
Yeah.
like hearing that continuous advice.
Always audition or try for anything where it puts you in front of either visually or by listening to you, somebody that can hire you. Never pass up one of those opportunities, never quit trying because they may have heard you now on a voice audition and you're not right for this part. But guess what? Any good casting person always has 3, 4, 5 projects going on if they're successful. Just because you're not right for this one doesn't mean that they don't go, oh, that'd be
You
a
might be
great
good
one
for this one.
for over here. Okay. So you never know. So if you don't put it out there, none of this magic, this fun stuff can happen, So always take the chance. Even if you didn't get this, that may mean that you got yourself in front of where somebody heard you that's going to lead to the thing that you need to do next or for the first time or whatever. Just keep putting it out there, man.
For sure, for sure. And with that basically ends our episode. I want to ask, I know it's been a whole lot of fun. I want to ask, do you have a question for me or for another voice actor that may come on?
No, I guess I don't have any questions. Not for another voice actor. How long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this podcast for probably since the pandemic. I've been doing
Wow.
this segment of the podcast where I've been talking to voice actors for probably like a year and a half now. So that's been interesting, but it's been kind of fun. I feel like I've been able to learn how to open up more to people and trying to get my talking better so I can talk more professionally and stuff like
Sure.
that. So
Yeah. And have you had good feedback and have you enjoyed it and had good interactions with people? Is it what you hoped it would be, or is it surprising and more than you thought it would be?
I'll say each interview is different. I will say from when I started in the beginning, I was a lot nervous. I feel like a lot of those interviews weren't as good as the ones I've done now. Like where I feel like a lot of the conversations I have now typically go past initial hour conversation that we have. So I feel like I've been able to make these interviews more conversational, where people feel like they can talk more and open up more and be willing to talk a little bit longer than what we've scheduled. You know what I mean? So I felt like it's really showing the progress I've made on that end.
And you're still having fun.
Yeah. That's the
Good.
fun part about it.
You do a good job.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate
that. In the last hour, then you need to hear it. No, good job, Raysean. Really, you do a good interview. Make it fun and easy.
I appreciate that.
And your questions are good questions.
That's something I've been trying to work on too, being able to get questions for people, because some people have biographies on Wikipedia and then some people don't. So it's like you just do what you can. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah. A lot of time, Wikipedia, IMDb, and of course, then if you're going to really get 3/4 of their work, it's IMDb Pro, where you're going to pay for this. And it's like, you know.
And then sometimes they don't even show everything they've done, and then you're like, oh,
no. It like my IMDb shows about 3/4 of what I've done, and also for a long time. They had me married to a French woman that I'd never met, didn't have any idea where she was. And for a little while, they had me being born in Honolulu. And I had no idea. And I was 7 years younger than I am, until Honolulu called and said, we'd like to invite you to a convention as local people gone done good. I said, I don't know what you mean. Yeah, weren't you born in Honolulu? Blah, blah, blah. I go, I wasn't. So it's like, okay.
How much y'all paying for me to act like I am?
I can impersonate one. I can sure sound like. So they finally went, oh, okay. Well, would you like to come anyway? So it's like, oh, okay, sure.
For sure.
But yeah, you never know what's going on out there. But you do a great job, and it's fun to see you turn your Steelers hat around and represent.
Well, I also want to say you do a good job. I like all the work that you've done, and the fact that you've brought so many of my favorite characters to life. So I want to give you your flowers for that.
Well, thank you very much. And they happen to be just the kind of flowers I like. Thank you very much.
And with that, we end today's episode. I want to thank my guests for coming on and chatting it up with me. I had a lot of fun and learned so much more about the industry of voice acting, and hopefully you listeners did too. Before we close out, I just want to allow my guest the opportunity to plug himself and tell the audience where they can find you.
Well, again, I am Terrence Stone. I have been around for years and years and years, and I'm not dead yet. If you want to find me, you can go to IamTerrenceStone.com, and that's Terrence. It's the Irish spelling, not the English. Don't do that, you know. So IamTerrenceStone.com is a good place for my website. You can check me out. And then if I'm at a convention where you might be near your town or whatever, come see me. Bring something, I'll put my moniker on it for you. And other than that, Raysean, maybe one day I'll see you at something, or I'll see something you're doing. And I can go, I knew him when.
Oh man, that would be amazing. Especially if you come here to Cincinnati, you gotta shoot me a message.
Yeah, Cincinnati's awesome. Oh my gosh, stay warm though.
Man, the weather changes here so frequently, you don't even know, man.
Oh yeah. Well,
and with that,
take care.
Peace.
All right, bye, Raysean.
Before we go, I've never asked this, but since you play one of my favorite characters, I wanted to ask, is there any way I can get you to say thanks for listening to the Raysean Gadson Anime Podcast in your Mayuri voice, if that's possible?
And pronounce for me your last name the way you like to say it.
Gadson.
Gadson, just like it's spelled, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well, it's been wonderful here on the Raysean Gadson Show. I hope you've had a wonderful time. I certainly have. But was it perfection? No, because I don't believe in perfection. But it's as close as it could possibly be.
That's amazing. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Take care, Raysean.